audience, and glad everybody found it tonight. My name is Amanda Lavelle, and on behalf of parents and educators raising our community, which is the long form of PERC, which many people have seen, I wanted to welcome everybody here tonight. I'm especially excited as I've heard At the Core present around this topic and can speak to the value of what we've been able to hear in years past, and excited to have you back. So I wanted to introduce Beth Probst, the founder and CEO of At the Core. She's crafted an evening of tips and tools to share with you to help prepare your student for high school and the road ahead. We also have Tyler Wolf, the Director of Student Wellbeing, and Jessica Sullivan, Dublin City Schools Coordinator of Data and Assessment, who also used to be a school counselor. They're here as well, should there be any specific Dublin questions that we would need some answers to, but just know they're here as well. Tonight's program is being recorded and it will be available on the PERC YouTube page at the end of probably this week, if not next week. You can find this recording as well as any of the other past recordings of any PERC presentation that we've had that's been recorded on our website, which is www.percdublin.org. So I would encourage everyone to check that out and know that if there are certain topics or presentations that maybe you didn't get a chance to see in the past, you're more than welcome to take a look at that online. So without further ado, I'll pass it to you, Beth. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Can you all hear okay? Excellent, excellent. So in honor of, making this, sorry, I'm turning this, mute this guy with the button. I'm going to keep things very casual. I polled the audience before we got started, and we all agreed that I could sit down. We okay with that? Okay, let me sit down. It's been a long day. Yeah, you can sit. You know what? Heck yeah, I may hand over the mic and have you answer a few questions. I'm teasing. I may. Yeah, we're all parents. We all have things to share. And speaking of sharing, we're a big group. But as I drove over here today, I was thinking about you. And I was thinking about what you were feeling. So, sorry, feelings. I have to ask, you have a kiddo who's getting ready to start high school. Show of hands, how many people are feeling, let's start with a positive one. How many are feeling? You guys are like, yes, we have somebody starting high school. I'm in the right place, right? Yes, you are, yes. So, how many people are feeling excited? How many people are feeling some anxiousness? Or anxiety. Okay, yeah, right? How many people are feeling some overwhelm? Is that a feeling anybody has? Okay, I'll ask that again at the end. Just wait. Am I missing a big word that describes how you're feeling? Sad. Sad because you're growing up. So as a mama, whose oldest is going to turn 22 next Saturday, not this Saturday, but next Saturday, 22. And I remember sitting in this seat, not this seat here, right here. I'm an Olentangy parent. My oldest went to Liberty, and then my second was redistricted to Olentangy High School. But I sat in this seat when he was in 8th grade, and I felt worried and sad and concerned. And the worst was I had heard, bits and pieces of stuff from neighbors and friends, but I didn't feel like I had a true working knowledge of how high school really worked. And that's what I want for all of you. So this is the starting place of how you're going to build that foundational knowledge that's going to lead you year after year to support your student to make great decisions. I will also preface this by saying you live in an amazing school district. Amazing. I am so impressed. I see a lot that goes on around the state and the country with different districts. The choices they make, decisions they make, things they hold out as important. I continue to be very impressed with Dublin. And I'm most impressed by the fact that you guys have so many educational choices, especially late in high school. But what that creates is a situation of sometimes confusion or concern. What are the best choices? What are the right choices? How do I help my kiddo match up with the choices that can be best for them. So it does present some challenges. As I had a dad, there was a dad, probably the first person that was in here tonight, and he was mentioning that where he went to high school, there were 2 tracks. He said it was, I think, in Europe, and he said there was a science track and there was an arts track, and that was it. You know, you picked you made one path track, and that was, you know, one choice, and that was it. So things are really different for you, but I promise you, with information, and digging deeper into each of the things that you have available to you, your students have available to them, you can do this. You can make good choices year after year. Okay? Are we good? That's how we're going to approach things today. We're going to build these building blocks. Who am I? I'm Beth Probst. I lead an organization called At the Core. For about 10 years, we have worked to support families as they navigate the process from middle school to high school to college and career. We do this in some different ways, and I'll describe that briefly in a moment. I am joined today by 2 individuals from Dublin City Schools who have an amazing set of information and resources that they're going to kind of tuck away here and be available to us if there are some questions that come up that are really best answered by a district resource. Make sense? Okay. So Jessica and Tyler are here today. Giant thank you. Without further ado, one of the things that I think makes Dublin really unique is the power of organizations that support families, especially PERC. I am stunned at the speakers that they have come in. If you're unfamiliar with this, if this is your first kiddo heading into high school, if you're unfamiliar with PERC, come to everything that they do. They have nationally known speakers, and then they have me. I'm teasing, I'm not nationally known. Well, I guess in some circles I am, but that's probably something, a resource that you're going to want to tap into. They're going to always have topical things that are on your mind that you're going to want to know about. Access those resources, and I'm super grateful and glad to be here. All right, I think you have 2 questions on your mind. Hopefully you can maybe not read those 2 questions. Can you nod if those are really the questions that are on your mind? Some nodding. Did I miss a big one? I think it's this. It's really, how do we support our kiddos? And really, what is high school like today? So I'm super glad that I get to share that with you today. So while I'm speaking to you, again, 10 years of work helping students navigate that path from middle school to high school to college and career. There's 15 of us on our team. Our focuses are in the areas of self-assessment, career exploration, and educational path planning. So that's all we do 24/7, 365. That is our world. So we can talk about everything from helping your students connect to their strengths and their struggles and their values, understanding how that can tie together to careers that can be interesting for them. And oh my goodness, the career world is so different than it was when I left high school and when I left college. And then the last step is educational path planning, understanding how to navigate the educational world so that I'm prepared for what kinds of careers are on the horizon. So that's why I'm speaking to you. That's the skill set and experiences that I'll bring to this. It can feel overwhelming, what I'm about to share with you. I've presented this to thousands of families. Hang with me, take notes, and the thing I need you to know is that this is the first time you hear it is the hardest. It will feel like a wave coming over you, and I can't help that. And I'm sorry to be the first one to tell you, but I'm going to tell you about curriculum nights. I'm going to tell you about open houses. We're going to email to you the Dublin handbook for the 2023-2024 school year. The minute it is published, we will email that to you so that you have it and you don't have to go hunt for it. We're going to put in your hands resources so you can take the next steps. Over the next weeks, again, Dublin City Schools will be offering things, and I'll be offering some different programs as well. Managing your questions. I have my little watch here. I'm 10 minutes in. I'm an hour and a half with you tonight. When you have questions, I don't want you to not ask them. I want you to ask them, but kind of maybe hang until you kind of see if I'm going to get to the answer to that question in that little segment. But let's just ask. We're a small enough group, we can do this. Okay, and I'm going to manage time though, and I may ask to hold the question until the end or take that one offline. So, one more. If you didn't let us know who you are, I can't email you that stuff that I have to send to you tomorrow unless I have an email address. So the QR code will take you there if you didn't register or didn't put your email on the list outside. Okay, important Dublin dates. Take a look at this. Oh, by the way, we emailed you the slides. We emailed you the slides. We will email you the slides again in the follow-up tomorrow. So you will have these slides. So don't feel panicked that you have to write everything down. But these, or take pictures. I remember my husband sat in this Olentangy Educational Options program, like right in the front row. He took pictures of everything. I'm like, okay, that's good. He was engaged. I loved it. So important dates. I'm going to talk about Emerald Campus. We'll talk about that open house. I would tell you to put that on a calendar, and I would tell you to go. Go, 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 go. I would tell you, of course, attend your curriculum night. February 3rd is the date that 8th graders' scheduling forms are due. You have students in other school years. That is not necessarily the date. February 3rd is the date for 8th graders for scheduling forms. So that's like a month from now, a little less than a month from now. You've got plenty of time, okay? You have plenty of time. No, oh no, they're like, that's not very much time. It is, I promise you. Okay, I'm doing some other programs. I'm doing College Credit Plus one, high school scheduling one. At some point tonight, I'm going to talk about AP, IB, College Credit Plus specifically, and there's a ton of information about those that I cannot share tonight, but in that high school scheduling options program, I do share all those details. So if that's a webinar that you feel like you're ready for, it's 90 minutes just about College Credit Plus. Is something that you feel like you're ready for after you hear a little bit about it tonight. Just understand that we're now connected, and you can come to any or all of these webinars and future presentations as you see fit. All right, so we're going to talk, this is our agenda. We're going to talk timeline. I'm going to walk through all 4 years of high school and what kinds of things are going to happen, what's going to be seen by you, what's going to be experienced by your student. Then we have to talk about our changing role as parents. Honestly, of all the things I'm going to talk about tonight, as a parent with 2 high school graduates, so I have that one that's going to turn 22 super quick, just so you know my experiences as a parent. Oldest kid was a business, math, money guy all through high school. He took an accounting elective, a single elective, opened up the door to the world of yawn. Are there any accountants? I'm sorry. Accounting. And so he has one more semester left at the University of Cincinnati. He just wrapped up a full year co-op in North Carolina, his 3rd co-op rotation. Paid, lived by himself, cooked, cleaned, all those things, and will graduate this May and or April something, and he already has a job. He has a job, he will move to Chattanooga, Tennessee, and work in a leadership development program for an insurance company. So that's number 1. Number 2, kid, right? Heck yes! Job in another state. I love him. We went today, I took him, he likes this ramen place on Bethel called Meshiko. If you've never been there, it's very good. A little shout out to Meshiko. With a shoyu, paitan, yeah, anyway. Okay, it's very good. Big bowl of soup. And I told him I had a surprise place to take him. He likes animals. He likes animals to sit on his lap. So there's this Bubble Kitty Cafe. Has anybody been there? Okay, it's really pink. It's very pink. And he's super tall and pretty manly guy. He's the only guy in there. I'm like, oh, honey, it's okay. We're in this kitty cafe. So you got to play with cats for an hour. So, and the number 2 kid, sucked all the right brain out of the room when she was born. Very creative, never saw a detail that interested her in any way, shape, or form, big picture girl, and very, very tech-oriented. She discovered digital design while in middle school and went to, had her eye on the digital design program at the Delaware Area Career Center. So like your tolls, but ours is called the DACC, was there for 2 years back into high school. College Credit Plus on the other half, took a ton of credits in with her to Bowling Green. She will graduate in 3 years. She is on her 2nd co-op because her major requires 3 paid co-op rotations as well. She'll do her 3rd co-op this summer and then graduate next year. So also, I think yay for Kendall. Okay, so that's my experience and went through a high school experience very much like your kids will. So academics, you heard me mention College Credit Plus, you heard me mention Delaware Area Career Center, TOLS, AP, IB. We will get to all that so that you feel like you have a good working knowledge. I have to spend this much time on ACT, SAT. Why? Because you are hearing from people that these aren't used anymore. And that is not true. That is not true. That is not true. It is not a complete picture. It is a moving target, and I need to tell you what you need to know as parents of 8th graders so that you're prepared and ready and paying attention to the things that will help your student when it comes to testing. Okay? And then last but not least, thinking about those options after high school. I'm not talking lockers and bell schedules and how to pick up kids. That will all come, not necessarily curriculum night, but it'll come from the support from your high schools. They'll teach you how to do that, how to load money on the lunch card, all that. Okay? So this is our plan tonight. Buckle up. It's a fun ride. You're sad about your kids getting older. I'm here to tell you there's some pretty cool things that happen as they start to get older. And if you can navigate these high school years well and lay the groundwork for discussing with them the kinds of things that you want them to know as they move into adulthood, I promise you it makes the 19, 20, 21 years pretty fun and interesting together. But it all starts with your 8th grader. These years do move very quickly. My philosophy on that is that you still have a middle schooler. They can't be as independent as a high schooler will be. And the big key that unlocks that independence is the day they get a driver's license. And then the day that you cringingly let them drive a car, and then they go away, and then it's up. So then time starts to pass really strangely, because they're away from you a lot more. You're not in the car driving them. So these years do go very fast. High school is different for our kids, and here we go. So what's it gonna look like? So freshman year, I'm realizing this is really a bad thing that I've chosen to sit because I can't see the slides. Okay, but I can do this. First few weeks are just like any time they change schools. It's just acclimating, right? Where's my locker? Nobody's going to wear a coat in August, but get this, nobody's going to wear a coat in January either. So and shorts are, what do you need? Those are year-round wear. I don't know about you, but that's okay. That's okay, pick your battles. First few weeks are just acclimation. Those academic basics get underway. So they're going to take, this is the first time you're going to hear this out loud from me, freshman year, they're going to take a math, they're going to take an English, they're going to take a social studies, and they're going to take a science. If they are college bound, they are going to take 2 or 3, usually 3 recommended years of the same world language. Often the first one happens perhaps in 8th grade, maybe they continue it in 9th grade, okay? So that's 5 of your classes right there. They may have room for art or PE or another elective while in 9th grade, and that's it. So their core academics are underway in 9th grade. We good? That makes sense so far? Okay. So it's really not that. There aren't a ton of choices as you fill out that scheduling form that's due. When is it due? February 3rd. Awesome. So this is probably, students will tell you this is the easiest academic year. And the idea is that as they move through high school, they should be stepping up a little bit, especially if they're college bound, because guess what? When they move from 12th grade in high school to the first year of college, it's harder. So they're preparing themselves, they're building their academic muscle each year to prepare for what comes next. It is a good time to build their GPA and to not start out in a deficit or in a hole. And they may or may not know this, so it's good to tell them. Now you know. I'll show you a transcript to prove it out. When your student applies to college, if they apply to college, and I may speak kind of generally and sweepingly about that, and the reason why I do is because, as you know, very large percentages of students from Dublin City Schools will head on to some sort of post-secondary education, something after high school. So I may generally say, as your students are planning for college. It is A-OK if your student chooses not to go to college and has a different plan of attack for how they're going to make their way in the world after high school. So we can talk about that as well. I've got a slide or two on that. So their first year of courses will appear on their high school transcript and will be seen by anyone that looks at their transcript. These grades actually get seen by admissions counselors. So are they the decision point? Will they get your kid in or not if you got a B in, ninth grade science? No. It is a part of what makes up the whole body of work that they will have under them by the time they apply to college. They may have classes with juniors or seniors. I don't know if that's super common for a student, for a freshman to maybe take an elective that may have juniors and seniors in it. It's possible, correct? It's possible, definitely possible. My younger kiddo took creative writing first semester at Olentangy. She was at Liberty at that point. She came home and immediately reported that there were 3 seniors in there and they were cussing. And she was kind of mortified, and then like a week later, she's like, yeah, they're cussing. And they're talking to the teacher about these things, and like 2 weeks later, she was just completely amused by how these seniors were interacting with the teacher. It was interesting to her. It was an interesting way for her to see how both ends of the spectrum will look during high school. So they may have classes with juniors or seniors in an unusual situation with an elective. They have an opportunity to get involved. One of the things I got really frustrated with when my kids were in middle school, there was a real lack of things that they could do, like in terms of volunteering especially. They were really limited. The door swings wide open. Once your kiddo is in high school, you're going to find an amazing set of things that suddenly people are willing to let your student participate in. So I think that is a great thing. Look for those options. I'm going to show you a list of plugs in a moment. Time management and organization. I was that mom that would always go to Target and buy the paper planner and the pens that I would like to use if I was in ninth grade. Am I in ninth grade? No, I'm not. And my son was so nice, and he would take it, and he'd be like, that's nice, Mom, thanks. And I'd find it like 6 weeks later, crunched in the bottom of his book bag, because that wasn't how he wanted to organize his stuff. So my tip is, let them find their way in organizing and time management. And I would not muddy the water or get involved unless it appears that you need to get involved. And if you need to get involved, I would use the shoulder-to-shoulder method and say, hey, it kind of looks like, you could use some organizational support. Would you like to try an app? Would you like to try a color-coded paper system? What kind of thing might, be attractive to you? And let them decide. It's their life. They have to be the one to manage and maintain all of those things that will appear in their high school world. And embrace the stumbles and the successes. I'm going to talk a little bit more about failure in a few slides, but the high school years are a roller coaster. I just need to tell you, you will have moments that your mama heart and your dad heart are so big, and you're so excited and you're so proud because they did something amazing and you got to see it or hear about it. And there will be other moments when you're like, are you kidding me? You really? You did that today? And you'll be mortified. It is a roller coaster. They have one foot in the kid world and one foot in the grown-up world, and they'll shift their weight between the two of them through the high school years. So just be prepared for that. Okay, so fall activities. Real quick, you all have 8th graders. If your student chooses to participate in a structured school fall activity, I have cross-country and marching band just as 2 examples up there. Those activities get started in the summer. And one of the benefits to students being in a fall activity is it puts them in their high school setting with their high school peers during the summer. And I love that. They walk through the high school, the first day in school, they know lots of people in their lunch period because they've been running with them. They've been out on the band field with them. They've been practicing, right? So just a thought, keep that in mind. Clubs. Clubs right here in this high school, look at this list. Holy cow. Clubs at Kaufman's, holy cow. You can find these, we're going to send this to you, remember? We're going to send this to you. Jerome, holy cow. And if your kid looks at this, your student, and they say, but, Mom, there's no car club, and I really want a car club, right? Well, guess what? Every one of these clubs got formed by a student that had, or a group of students that had that interest. They put their hand up and they said, I would like to form a club. They had to get an advisor, they had to follow through some other steps at the school to start a club. Well, if you have an interest in that, it's likely that 10 or 15 or 100 other people at your school also have that interest. So just keep that in mind, that if they say there isn't the one I want, encourage them to look into starting one. You'll blink your eyes and your kids will be sophomores. Wow, they are suddenly, they're definitely out of that lowest rung, age-wise in the high school. They're feeling more comfortable within the school setting. They have that natural step up in academic challenge. Sometimes that first AP class may appear as an option for them just in that sophomore year. Often it's the AP US History. There's something else that happens sophomore year, and that is that they often are getting ready to turn 16. So they would like to earn their driver's license, have that opportunity to drive. Who knows, does anybody know how many hours you have to be in the car with your child driving, and you have to sign an affidavit to this tune? Do you know how many hours you have to be in the car with them?
50.
How many?
50.
50 hours. How many of them are nighttime? Well, just 10 are nighttime, right? Okay, so prepare for that. Just learn to say things like, so the next time we come up to a stoplight, perhaps you could start braking before you did last time, right? So just, I would just try to be real like I had a glass of wine in me, but I didn't. But like that, like I would be a little pretty chill. I would try. So then, the other thing that happens, newfound freedom, time for you to put up some barriers and guidelines. And then often there is a responsibility for them to put some gas in the car and or to be part of paying for car insurance. So how are they going to make some money? They need to drive that car to a job. And the job, look at me, love students and part-time jobs. Best thing ever. They take instruction from someone other than a parent or a teacher. They have mixed-age coworkers. They are perhaps cleaning toilets, which I think is awesome as your first job, right? It makes the next job feel a lot like a step up. And then they also get introduced to the concepts of money and taxes and managing money. Tons of good stuff comes from those part-time jobs. But it also creates a situation where they have to manage their time differently because they have that responsibility to that job. So it adds a layer of complexity. Volunteering. I will share with you that if your students at all of the high schools, there are required hours for when you apply to be part of the National Honor Society chapter. It's not a ton of hours. I think if your student applies at Jerome or Scioto, it's 20 hours. At Kaufman, it's 15 hours. But no matter what, your student should be part of the community. You can track all of that. I only mention it here sophomore year because sometimes getting to those volunteer opportunities requires somebody to drive them, and if they have their own way to drive, that can be helpful. But giving back is big, and experience should start, in my opinion, in our team's opinion, by sophomore year with the ACT and SAT. Okay, and again, I'm going to talk about those two in a moment. We blink again, and they're juniors. Holy cow, they're on the other side, right? They're over the hill and more than halfway through high school as they start junior year. Junior year typically is considered the most challenging year academically. Typically, they are taking their hardest level of coursework in that year. They know that's the last year of grades and coursework that will appear on their high school transcript that will be visible to college admissions counselors. It's the last one, because when they apply to college in the fall of senior year, they don't have any grades for senior year yet. They can report what classes they're taking, but the bulk of decisions are made based upon 3 years of grades and courses that that student has chosen to take. More flexibility in their schedules to take what they choose. I'm going to demonstrate that in a moment with a sample schedule. Balancing it all, oh my gosh, can be a challenge. I see many students in the fall of junior year, and Tyler, I bet you see this too, fall of junior year, students often can have an opportunity to take on maybe a leadership position in a club that they've been involved with for a couple of years. Maybe they take on more part-time hours. And wait for it, they're taking that more challenging schedule. So I watch a lot of kids, it's almost like, okay, sorry, this is really gross, but I'm gonna say it. So does anybody have a cat? You know when the cat eats the dry food, and then the food like expands in their stomach, and then they have to get it out? It's almost like that, like our juniors take on all this food, and then they go, ruh-roh, I took on too much. I've got to get rid of something. I've got it right, I'm gonna burst. And so I think that's, sorry, I can't believe I just told you a vomit story, but I did, but I did. Let's see if I'm invited back. Sorry. So your juniors, you have to watch them and help them balance so that they don't take on too much, especially in that junior year. The college process, if you know a junior in your life right now, just like totally give them a hug, because when January 1st comes of junior year, this white hot spotlight clicks on all across America and it shines right in your face. And everybody they talk to says, oh, you're a junior, you're gonna apply to colleges. What's on your list? What are you gonna study? How many visits have you gone on? How are you doing on the ACT, SAT? It's just all suddenly all about the college process. It is what it is. I can't stop that except give you some tips to help you prepare for that. And then, of course, more serious ACT, SAT preparation is happening. Senior year, it is a great year. I will share, my youngest was class of 2021, COVID, senior year, COVID #2, senior year though. So we all came together in a lovely way for our high school class of 2020 when they were really challenged by COVID and getting them to graduation. That next year it was just kind of the norm that of course you didn't have prom, of course you didn't have, homecoming. So I get it, senior year is an important time. It can be emotional. Schoolwork is absolutely still important. Sometimes students will say to me, no, I've already been accepted to the University of Cincinnati, therefore how I do this year. Oh no, all college acceptances are contingent upon your successful and similar completion of classes in your senior year. And it certainly is contingent upon your graduation from high school. So you can't get to the end of senior year and whoopsie, just didn't finish that class that was required. So fall is filled with college-bound stuff. They're sending in applications. Information trickles in through the remainder of the year. You'll have a graduation celebration. It's pretty awesome. During those years, they're going to go through tremendous personal growth. Like I said, one foot in the kid world, one foot in the adult world. Their bodies and their brains are changing a lot. They'll take a health class and they'll know, they'll tell you, they will tell you, my frontal lobe will not be fully developed until I'm 25. I'm like, yes, you've got that down. And we're exhibit A. Why did you do what you just did? So it is a time, these high school years, be prepared. They will come home with some ideas and some opinions, some thoughts that they will toss out into the family. I don't want to say like a bomb kind of, but sometimes they'll kind of toss them out. And they know that you won't agree with it, but you've got to just understand this is how they figure out who they are. They're trying on these different ideas. And you have to let them move through that because it's how they get to the other side and feel confident and ready for taking the next step as the person they are. So I want you to think, 4 years from right now, you will sit in some parent meeting for seniors, okay? How crazy is that? Your kiddo will probably know where they're going to college 4 years from now. You will, sorry, this will make me cry. Cap and gown will be bought, right? You'll be heading to the Schottenstein, you'll know what date it is. And I want you to think about that moment. And I want you to imagine your child ready for taking the next step. I think you're gonna use words like they would be confident, mature, they'll be independent, they would have a rudder in the water, they know which direction they're going. These are things we want for them. Those things will not just magically happen. This is where we as parents have to continue to support them and guide them and hug them and sometimes give them a little kick in the rear end all those things during these high school years to help them get to that person and that level of readiness. And how do we do that as parents? Couple things for you. Again, this is probably the most important slide that I'm going to show you tonight, and I say that as a parent, having gone through this. Exploration. If your child has an interest in whatever, find a way to help fan the flames of that interest. You are here tonight. It tells me something about who you are as parents. You've probably been doing this already. Just do it now at the stepped up next level. What does that look like? If your kiddo, if their mind is blown at how Ticketmaster could have so messed up the Taylor Swift thing, right? I mean, like, they're literally, like, no, like, how system-wise could that happen, that they didn't have enough capacity, right? Sit with them. So this is shoulder to shoulder. This is the second time I've said this. Write this down. This is important. Shoulder to shoulder. You sit with your kiddo in a computer, and together, you look that up. And you read about that, and you fan the flames of how this kid, maybe they end up being someone who solves capacity problems for large, I don't know what they're gonna do in their life, but if this little interest is one that we can help them unlock and explore further, great. Maybe they came home today and they're like, how is it that our House of Representatives is struggling with finding a, right? They hear this stuff, right? If they have that cut, but maybe it's more pedestrian and they're just interested in turtles or tacos or trombones or whatever. Sit with them, work with them, look things up, find a camp, find a class. I'm gonna show you a list of electives inside the Dublin schools in a few minutes. There are so many things that they can take. Remember I mentioned that accounting class that my oldest took? One little class in high school swung open the door to what will be his, at least initial career after college. So keep that in mind. Connections. Your child is going to naturally have connections to people their age through the high school years. I'm going to encourage you to find ways and encourage them to find ways to have connections with people older than them. It can be a mentorship role, it can be a service role, it could be a coach, right? Learning from people other than you, and also with students who are younger than them. That can be a role where they are the mentor, where they might be a tutor. All three of those levels of connections will provide your students something different during their maturing and educational years of high school. Those are all good. So explore, connections, failure, embrace it right now. There will be failure. And failure to one person's child may be a D for the very first time on a project, or a C. Another child may be completely off the rails and be failing a class. Another child may get in trouble with the car, or with money, or with drugs or alcohol, or you name it. It's going to happen, on some level in your house, because it's a roller coaster. What I want to remind you is that these are opportunities. These are opportunities for you to demonstrate to them that these are not the end of the world. We learn, we teach them. Pick yourself up, dust off, make reparations, learn how to move through this issue, and then when they get to college and they get that first D on a flunked out biology test, right? It won't be the first time that they've experienced a kick like this. They'll remember how to get up from this, how to move forward. But they can't know how to do that unless we do it together with them during the high school years. So I think it's a real positive thing when these come about. They're not fun. Trust me, I'm a mom. I have lived them. They're not fun. But when you get to the other side, time puts them in their place. Puts the memory in place, I guess I should say. Self-sufficiency. All I will say about this is, if you want your children to cook, to wash their clothes, to manage money, to call and make a haircut, guess what? We have to do less of that for them and offer them the opportunity to do more of that. Do you know what freaks a teenager out about making a phone call? Do you want to know? We have hundreds of hours of interviewing students. We know what it is. They feel like someone's going to ask them a question that they don't know the answer to. And if you do a little role play with them, and if you tell them to have a piece of paper and a pen on the phone, so when you make that phone call, and here's the key, know up front, they probably will ask you a question that you don't know the answer to. So here's what you're going to say. I don't know the answer to that question. But with my pad of paper in front of me, I'm gonna write down that question, and I'll be able to call you back with our group number for the insurance or whatever it is that they ask for, right? So that's it. It's just teaching them how to do that. It will not happen magically. I actually used this word with you earlier, my favorite little parenting word that I want you to put in your pocket. At some point, your kiddo is gonna come home, and they're gonna say, I hate art class, or I love English class. It'll be very visceral and one or the other. And my daughter came home, I love art class. And I'm like, oh, it's my budding artist child, and where is this all gonna go? And I remembered my word, and I said, can you finish the sentence for me? I love art class because, and she said, because Mr. Gilsdorf puts a thing of candy right on the end of his desk. And it's a different candy, Mom, every week. I don't know where he goes to get this. He has some of the most, and I'm like, really? It's about candy. It was seriously about, I'm like, okay, all right, so there's that. So the because lets your student finish the sentence, and it's not confrontational, like the word why. So when we come at someone and we say, why? Why did you do that? If you can, and it's not always appropriate, but remember, can you finish the sentence? Blah, 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 because. And it opens the door to let them finish the sentence naturally with something that's already in their head. It just didn't come out the first time they said what they said. Okay, all right. Are you still with me? I know some of you are thinking, ladies, just get to the academic part. I just want to hear that I'm here to tell you that stuff all is very important, and I will spend the time on it. This is what will make a difference in your child's life. So last step, in the summers. Summers are an amazing time. Each summer you have during the high school years, including this next one, is actually the first summer, technically, of your students' high school years. Do you know that? So when you hit May, right, and May finishes up 8th grade, technically that next day is like the beginning of their freshman year. And that finishes in May, and then they are sophomores. So as they begin this summer, they'll have the summers of high school, career-minded experiences, community engagement, adulting, learning to cook, learning to wash the clothes. Those are all a little bit easier to do during the summer months. Starting to adult is again, a big thing that we wanted to take on through those years of high school. It's so easy to be consumed by a sport, and we produce a phenomenal list. Is anybody already on our mailing list? Does anybody get our stuff already? So we just emailed out our summer opportunities list the other day, maybe yesterday, might have been yesterday. It is a great list, highly recommend it. Lots and lots of camps and classes that are available. Does anyone have any questions on this piece of it?
Email tomorrow, will that be part of it?
I will, yes, we will email the link to the summer opportunities page. Good question. Yes, it's on our follow-up. So usually not a ton of questions on this, but I needed to share this with you, honestly, the most important part of what I talked about tonight. Okay, academics, are you ready? Did I tell you how you're going to feel at the end of this section, right? It is the first time you're going to hear it. It is the hardest. It is not the only time you're going to hear it. So just consider this a building block. And look at that, we got a puzzle piece. It's like it's a part of the puzzle, right? Those academics truly are just part of who our student is. As I mentioned, those grades count from day one. Your student should try to craft a schedule that will enable them to have a strong start to their academic career in high school. So that's a little tip. If you've got a student who might be thinking, should I do this or should I do this? Consider this, right? How can they have a strong performance and a successful first year in high school? Yet, on the other side of that, the balance to that is they have to be, a phrase I've always used is appropriately challenged. So appropriately challenged, and that's different for every single student. We're going to send you that course catalog. January 10th is when it will be released and available to you, and that is, so we may have already sent you, and you can certainly find, we'll probably link in tomorrow's email, the 2022-23 course catalog. But that's a little bit different than the one that will come out on January 10th. It'll be for the next year. There's not a ton of differences, but there are a ton of differences, even in the basics for ninth grades. Not the basics, but they'll want to look at that. For sure. Okay, awesome. So, Ohio graduation requirements, we'll talk about that as well. You're gonna need to plan some things out. I'm gonna show you a little tool that we use. There's another tool called the Pathway Plan that I'll show you a picture of at the end of this section. And then, so again, graduation requirements are part of what you need to think about. That's what drives, on some level, what classes your student takes. So here's a sample of a traditional college prep schedule. So you plan out all 4 years. You have to consider those graduation requirements. Take a look at those graduation requirements. So they need 4 credits of English to graduate from Dublin City Schools, as well as from the state of Ohio. Those match up. 4 math, 3 science, 3 social studies. You can see they need art, they need a fine arts credit, they need a half credit of financial literacy. So someone asked me at the beginning, what is that? How does that credit thing, and how does that really like equate to a school year? Typically, but not always, a credit equates to the completion of a year in that subject. So if I'm going to earn those 4 credits of English, typically, there are exceptions, typically I would take 4 high school year-long classes, earning 1 credit each. Make sense? Okay, so then as we follow along, freshman year, I told you already, they're going to take an English, a math, a science, a social studies. They're probably, if they're college bound, going to take another year of world language, and then they might try to get in that art, they might get in the health, they might get in PE. Let me address PE waiver really quickly because we don't have PE in this sample. Let's say this is a student who's planning to do cross-country all 4 years of high school. That's their goal. So the state of Ohio and the Dublin district has extended the option that when students complete 2 seasons, 2 full seasons of school-sanctioned sport, band, or cheer, that will allow them to not have to take PE as a class during high school. It gives them a waiver from that class requirement because they're achieving their physical education through the completion of 2 seasons of sport. Does that make sense? Good on that?
So they can be
What's
done
the
with,
season?
like, cross-country and track in 1 year?
They can be done with cross-country. You get 2 full seasons of sport at any time during the 4 years of high school, completing 2, even if they get injured, they still have to complete the season by coming to practice, going to games or meets, etc. But yes, so 2 seasons, and it just waives them from the requirement of having to take a class during the school year.
What's
Okay.
what's a season?
What's a season? So a sports season, all sports have either a fall season, a winter season, or a spring season. So cross-country is a fall sport, track is a spring sport, basketball is a winter sport. Okay? And you can look at your school-sanctioned sports list in your course handbook. Okay, we good on that? Everybody's good? Yeah?
I'm gonna add to that. So can it be 2 different?
Can it be 2 different sports? Yes, yes, but it cannot be mix and match. You can't do 1 season of sport and 1 class in school and have that be combined to achieve your PE. Or it's either 2 classes inside the high school or 2 completed seasons of sport. Good question. And remember, it's sport. Sport consists of the school-sanctioned sport, band, or cheer.
And when you say school sanctioned, like my daughter swims for Dublin Sea Dragons, but it's not attached to her school, doesn't count? She has to swim for Kaufman as a student at Kaufman.
Yep, good question. My daughter rode horses. Others dance. Those don't count. There is a way. There is something, what is it called? Not a credit, what's it called? Credit, I can't believe I got put on the spot too quick. It is a way for you to attempt to petition the school that things I've done outside of school can be brought in as credit. There's a process for doing that. It's a little bit different from district to district, but we can credit flex. I knew I was missing a word there. Sorry, that's my 54-year-old brain. I'm like, oh, I have a little dot right on top of the word. I'm like, credit something. Yeah, credit flex. Okay, we good? So or, yeah,
Can it be any college-sponsored sports, like, could it be a fall sports or a spring sports?
fall and spring? Yes, yeah, it could be any sports, any 2 seasons of sports. You just can't do 2 fall sports at the same time.
Right.
You would do, a fall and a winter, a fall and a spring, yep.
You've mentioned world language a couple of times. I don't see it as a graduation requirement.
You get the gold star. Where is my, okay, so the point this gentleman just made, I would throw you candy if I had it, but I would miss. So the question he just asked was, I've heard you mention world language a couple of times, but I don't see it as a graduation requirement. Some people paraphrase that question. If it's not required for graduation, why are all these kids taking all this world language? And the reason is, it's not required for graduation from the state of Ohio, and it's not a requirement within your district. However, when you apply to college, that's where the requirement comes into play. So there are a few colleges that will require 2 or less years of world language. Many require 3. And then our more elite institutions will require or recommend 4 or more years of world language. So that is why your school counselor will typically tell you at least 3 years of the same world language. That way your options are broadly open. If you're thinking of those more elite institutions, there are things that you would need to do aside from taking 4 years of or more of world language that would make you I don't even want to say attractive to an IB because I don't even want to open that door, but we can open that door later. We can talk about that later. So the admissions requirements and the process for schools that have single-digit acceptance rates are largely outside of our control. So you may take a ton of APs and then not have a great opportunity at all to get into that school. But, okay, it's neither here nor there. Does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay, we doing okay? Okay, so this is what it's typically gonna look like in that freshman and sophomore year. This is what I call front-end loading, right? We're doing a ton of stuff to get a lot of graduation requirements done in that beginning 2 years of high school. Why? Because your real opportunity opens up in junior and senior year to take advantage of the amazing things that Dublin kids can access during their 4 years of high school. So it's not common that they're going to access career academies and the career tech programs and AP and IB and College Credit Plus in the first 2 years of high school. Usually they're getting their basics out of the way, door swings open, more options are available, more space is available junior and senior year if you front-end load your schedule and get as many of the requirements out of the way freshman and sophomore year. Okay, so let's take a look at what those options are in a moment. There is a transcript. Oh, yes?
I'm sorry, what is Emerald Campus? Is that,
What is
when
it?
does that start? Is that,
So Emerald Campus is comprised of a set of different, primarily academic options that live at Emerald Campus. CCP, College Credit Plus, which I'll talk about in a moment, some of those classes live at Emerald Campus. IB, the IB classes, live at Emerald Campus. And then the career academies, which I'm going to tell you about in a moment, live at Emerald Campus. So in general, not always, but in general, students that partake in those options are older students in high school who have done what I showed you a moment ago. They've gotten their basics out of the way in their freshman and sophomore year. Okay, but there are differences. There are some students who may be accelerated in certain subjects and be ready for some of those options earlier. It just really depends student to student. But I'm going to talk more about Emerald Campus and all 3 of those in just a moment. A transcript. Every class your child takes will have the name of the class, the grade that they got in the class, and there is a translation of the grade, the letter grade, has a numeric translation. So when we talk about a grade point average, there's been a translation of your A grades in a 4.0 scale equal a 4.0, a B equals a 3.0, et cetera. There's a whole scale documented in the course handbook. And all of your classes, there's a simple division problem that creates your student's cumulative GPA. Okay, but this is an example of your transcript. It's the kind of thing that would get sent along with a college application to a college so that they know exactly what classes you took and they know exactly what grades you got, okay, from the moment you enter high school. And actually, I take that back. If your student has taken high school classes during middle school, those courses and grades, so they've already begun their high school transcript at that point. Okay, those grades and classes etch right onto this same transcript. They just happen to occur during the middle school years. Okay, every child is different, so a couple things here for you to keep in mind as we get ready to talk about those options, IEPs and 504s. There are a huge percentage of students with documented disabilities who access accommodations through their 504 plan or their IEP. Dublin District has been amazing at supporting students, and I think if you have a student with an IEP or a 504, you're going to want to have that conversation with your high school counselor to make sure that you are aware of exactly how that your student can be supported, what to expect, what kinds of requirements are there for, or resources that are available during the day, etc. So I think you're going to hear about that more at curriculum night, and certainly as you begin to communicate with your school counselor at the high school. Interest in career tech. So this is what I mentioned to you before that my own youngest kid did that. So she did a half-day digital design program at the Delaware Area Career Center. We were talking half-day. And then she traveled to college to take her College Credit Plus classes. So she had to really architect and maneuver her schedule to make room for that much space for what she wanted to do. So I would tell a student who might look at some of the career academies and some of the career tech lab programs at Tolles, if they have an interest in some of those and start to dig into those a little bit later, they're going to want to, all the more important, to get as much done in the freshman and sophomore year to make space for those large chunks that might come in the junior and senior year. Students in need of more academic challenge. I mention this because there are many identified gifted students within the Dublin City School District. A lot of times as a parent in Olentangy, I was frustrated during those middle school years that there wasn't maybe anything that was naturally challenging my kiddos. Once you get to high school, the door swings open and they have access to so many other ways to engage with wonderful and challenging work naturally, especially given all of the options that you have. So I just want to ease your mind that the door swings open, there's lots of options. DCS Virtual, so most districts at this point have an online, self-guided district option for students that need to access that. That's certainly something a student would think about and talk about at length with their school counselor before accessing that. There are Dublin teachers that support and monitor that, and then setting kids up for success. I bring this up because your kids are getting ready to start high school. They've never been in high school before. They don't know how hard or how easy it's going to be. I love the idea of supportive tutoring, not letting anybody get so far off the rails that you're now trying to bring them even back into the vicinity of the railroad tracks, right? Try to teach your child that as soon as they feel uncomfortable with something subject-wise or topic-wise, to speak up. And you can help them get engaged with someone. It could be as simple as a National Honor Society student who's going to be helping with some tutoring. It could be a peer. It could be someone that you hire otherwise. Just that supportive tutoring before the training is completely off the tracks is a lot easier to work with. And then also trying to figure out, is it really just study skills that they need some help with, or is it truly academic content? So being able to make that differentiation. And then the value of a study center. If I were in your shoes, I would hope that all of you would strongly encourage your child to take a study center at least in that first semester. So they don't know what high school's like. You need to build in that time for them to be able to have some opportunity to get some stuff done and be able to manage their schedule. Okay, so a couple more things. I promise we're getting into honors, AP, IB, College Credit Plus, academies. Next slide. Those first 2 years are academic basics. I want your child to look at the high school course catalog and get excited about what's in there. They may not be really excited about their choices for ninth grade. They're like, oh, yay, and English, not math, right? They're like, been there, done that. But I want them to flip to some other pages in that course catalog, online perhaps, instead of printing it old style. And I want them to get excited about something that lights them up and makes them, that they're looking forward to, so that they can get done with the academic requirements that they need to be able to have the option to do the things that make them excited. Of all these things I'm going to tell you about, this is underlined, so it must be important. There is no single best right path. So please, you're going to want to say to me, but Beth, is AP or IB really better? Is College Credit Plus or the Career Academies better? Nope, I'm not going to engage with that conversation, because there is no one that is better than the other. All can be an avenue to preparing your child, and the coolest part is, what I'm about to tell you about, you can mix and match. So if your student wants to do the Aviation Career Academy, and they love the idea of earning some college credit through CCP, mix and match. You can do them both. It's not a one or the other. So you need to evaluate this year to year, child to child. Mix and match, desired end result, just remember that. Okay. You ready? Honors classes. Who takes them? What are they? How do they work? So in your early years of high school, you'll see in the handbook there might be an English 1 and an honors English 1. How do I know if I take that? What's the difference between the two of them? So I want you to think of honors as what I call a half step up in difficulty. And that's as compared to the ones I'm going to talk about in a moment, AP, IB, and College Credit Plus, as a full step up. So a half step up in difficulty. It will cover an honors English class in ninth grade will cover the same information as a traditional college prep class. However, it will cover it faster, which leaves additional time, so it compresses the material, moves faster through it, leaves extra time for that student to engage with additional projects, additional learning, deeper and richer content that's tied to that topic and subject. Okay, so who should take an honors class? Two things in my book. One, it's going to move faster, and it's going to expect more of the child. So I think that they should probably like the subject, right? Wouldn't that be kind of important, right? Why would I want to suffer through this if I really hate it in the first place? That's one. Number two, if I'm willing to step up to the challenge. If I know that it's going to be more challenging than my college prep counterpart of that class, I'm willing to take that step, make that step up. I also think you should make the decision, as a student, should make the decision subject by subject, right? Look at each one. So it's not like, should I take honors or should I not take honors? It's literally English, honors or not. Social studies, honors or not. Science, honors or not. One by one, because they have to ask themselves those questions. Do I like the subject? Am I willing to step up to the challenge? One thing about honors classes inside the Dublin City School District, this is not even across districts in the U.S. Your student will have a little GPA bump or uptick for taking that honors class. So because they've chosen to take that more challenging class, they are rewarded numerically in their grade by the fact that so it's a half point uptick. So instead of getting a 4, if they get an A in an honors, they would get a 4.5 for that class etched onto their transcript. Does that make sense? You promise? You all good on that? Okay? Yep.
So what if they get into honors or the AP level and then they decide it's just too much? Are they able then to go back and change classes?
Great question. So the answer is, it depends on when they do that in the school year. If they recognize that early, then they can shift pretty quickly, level shift. I don't know, Jessica or Tyler, if there's a specific date by which they need to make that change, that level change.
There is a date that they can address that at the curriculum night.
Curriculum night.
So even if you get 2 far into it and you do the first semester, you can always switch second semester and it would still, let's say it's AP American History. And, you know, second semester, you're in a lot of athletics, you don't think you can keep up. You can flip to American History and still earn your full credit. So there is some flexibility there and that will work with you.
The door wouldn't be locked because if a student made that choice to be in an AP class and life caused them to recognize that that wasn't the right decision for them, of course the district has, and lots of students who have done that. That's a great description. Thanks, Jessica. Good. You good? Okay. Yep.
Also, freshman year, if they take honors English, they're
Yep.
in the same class with the regular English kids. So if they needed to switch, they could switch.
Perfect.
Because they wouldn't have to be in a different
You're
class.
saying
They wouldn't
simple,
change
yes,
teachers.
A simple change in that.
Yeah, there wouldn't be a schedule change. They're
Perfect.
just in the same room.
Perfect. So I think it's a decision to be made as wisely as you can, but also recognizing that life happens, things change, so you're not locked in. Okay, yep.
It happens the other way too. My daughter, the teacher approached her after the end of the first semester and said, "You're doing the work of the honors, you might as well change to that." So she switched.
She made the level switch up. I will say that traditionally, the level switch up is not as available typically. Typically, your daughter's situation sounds like it was a perfect example, but often they'll say that the student in the traditional class is now so far behind that the other classes move forward. So just keep that in mind, that it's often harder to switch the other way. And so usually students they'll try for that more challenging class initially, knowing that they can scale slide sideways if they would like to into the other level. Good questions. Okay, we good? We ready to talk about AP, IB, and College Credit Plus? Yep.
Just quickly, students in middle school who are like on accelerated math or similar, does that sort of prepare them better to get into this, or is there anything that links the accelerated to like honors or?
So if a student is in, so you would want to look at your math path, right? So the typical math path, and Jessica, I can probably get you, in high school, the first, oh gosh, now I'm like, am I going to fall down? I think I can probably answer this, but Jessica or Tyler, if you would want to chime in, the first typical math class counting in high school is Algebra 1. Then they take typically geometry, then Algebra 2, and then whatever next thing they would like to take. So calc, pre-calc, AP statistics, etc. So you'll follow the math path that your student is on. They'll take, math is kind of a progression, right? They would take the next, they would take the next. Am I missing something else in answering your question? The
No, I think I understand.
You think you understand? Okay, okay. Anything to add? No? Okay, awesome.
Yeah, but what if your child had algebra already in 7th grade?
Yep.
Now he's in 8th grade and he's in the second
Geometry.
sophomore now.
He would be
He's
in
gonna
G.
age out in his.
He won't age out. You're gonna love hearing about AP, IB, and College Credit Plus. So to that end, that student with an algebra in 7th grade, a geometry in 8th grade, an algebra 2 in 9th grade, and then they would have their 4th counting math class for credit in math in 10th grade, which would probably be a pre-calc typically. So then what does that student do? They're not going to not take math in their junior and senior year. They'll just move into the other levels of math that typically live in the world of AP, IB, or College Credit Plus. Good questions. All right, and that tees us up nicely for that part of the discussion. You ready to talk about those three? Again, I am not going to go in super duper deep detail. Your students are a little ways away, perhaps, from these classes. Yes?
When do the honors class options start?
When does the honors class options start? So you'll typically see these for freshmen core classes and for some sophomore core classes. You'll see them listed right in your high school course handbook. Okay. We okay? We good? Okay. So half step up, honors, early in high school. Later in high school, when students often have exhausted or are ready for a full step up in difficulty. So these are often students who, again, want to put their hand up and engage with a full step up in difficulty in level of content of these classes. The best options for them are across these three families: the advanced placement classes, the international baccalaureate classes, and the college credit plus program. So I'm going to talk briefly about each one, and I want you to sort of think of them as having their own set of pros and cons and options. I'll start with AP. AP, again, stands for Advanced Placement. These are made by the nonprofit called the College Board. They also make the SAT and the PSAT. They make, I think, 39 different AP classes, but different districts decide which ones they choose to offer inside their district. So I'll pick on AP Psychology. It's a year-long high school class that a student who, again, wants to step up that full level of difficulty in this type of class. They are taught by a high school teacher inside the high school, and they will earn a high school grade. That high school grade has and this is true for all three of these that I'm about to tell you about, have a full point uptick in GPA. So this is, again, how we hear about students that have a GPA higher than a 4.0. They've taken honors classes and got A's, and maybe got that 4.5. They took AP, IB, or College Credit Plus and got an A, and they get a full point uptick. So they get a 5.0 on the transcript of that class. So AP class, high school teacher, high school grade, goes on the transcript, and kids will say to me, no, Beth, they're college classes. They are high school classes. The college part of AP comes into play in a test that the students take. So two things. One, while the student is taking an AP Psych class from that high school teacher, truly every day they are expected to perform more at a level of college academics. So I will say, every single day more is expected of them. Their reading level is higher. It's a more rigorous class, okay? That's AP. But the college credit part comes into play at the end when the student takes an exam in the month of May. They can score a 5, 4, 3, 2, or 1. 5 is high. They get their score. They're super proud of themselves. And then the second piece to that is that they go to colleges and ask them about their AP credit transfer policy for the major that the student is thinking of being in inside that college. So the student could be super happy with their 3 that they got, but the college needs them to have a 4 or a 5 for any credit to happen. Sometimes they'll take that credit, they'll take that score and turn it into 3 credit hours. It'll equate. Sometimes it won't. And some colleges won't accept any APs for credit at all because they just don't. So there's 2,000 different 4-year colleges across the U.S. They have different policies. So I tend to like families to think of the P in AP as potential credit, right? It has potential, but it's not a slam dunk or a given, okay? We good? We good on AP? Okay, and those classes happen inside all 3 Dublin high schools. IB, very similar to what I just shared with you, except Dublin students will tell us that the difference in their IB classes from their AP classes, they tell us that those classes are more relevant, more real world, they have a global feel to them, and they typically are collaborative in nature. Real world, collaborative. So think of AP as a bit more like, I don't want to say dry academics, that sounds terrible. They're interesting classes, but a bit more memorize, read, like a classic college class. The IB classes, collaborative, global, check them out yourself. Talk to students yourself, because a lot of Dublin kids take both. IB, similar, high school class, high school teacher, take a test at the end. You can score a 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, or 1, and then you take your score and shop it to colleges and see what they will do with that score. Okay? They may or may not do anything for credit. We good? All IB classes happen at Emerald campus. There is a shuttle. If you're not available or not aware of this, students have the opportunity to shuttle between their high school and Emerald campus for IB, for College Credit Plus, like I'm going to talk about in a second, and also for the Career Academies. Okay, yes?
Does IB also have a full uptick on GPA points?
All three have a full uptick,
Okay.
all three of these. So, and then the last thing, sorry, I skipped on IB, two things. One, AP and IB, you have a fee that you pay for the exams at the end. So you're having some money go out of your world to pay for those exams. And the second thing is, IB has an opportunity for a student to take a set of classes and meet a set of requirements across junior and senior year if they choose to, and have an opportunity to earn an IB diploma. It is a pretty unique and rarefied air for students that earn that IB diploma. It's hard, it's rigorous, it has, like I said, a certain set of things, but that similar thing doesn't exist in the AP world. Okay, yes?
They sound the same pretty much to me. What is the difference? I mean, IB sounds easier. Why would anyone put their trouble in it?
I don't think IB is easier at all. IBs, I would just tell you they're sort of different animals. They serve slightly different purposes. Like I told you, the IBs tend to be more collaborative in nature, which many students feel is more real world. They're relevant, things they're working on are not hypothetical, they're more real world type situations. They're still hard, there's still gonna be a really hard test in May. They're still, they're gonna be challenged appropriately. And like I said, neither is better. Students mix and match. A lot of times what drives it for a student is students will start to gather information and knowledge about teachers, and they'll want to take something from a certain teacher, and they know that they teach this, and so sometimes that's what drives their decision. Yes?
Do we feel like AP versus IB is seen differently at different types of colleges, or based on different types of careers that you're interested in? Would there be a role that way?
Nope. The student should take, I mean, there is going to be no difference to a college if you took AP Psych or IB Psych. They're not going to go, oh, yay. The only thing I would tell you is that some colleges love IB diploma kids, and that they're willing. It's an odd set of colleges that will sometimes entice IB diploma kids to come to their college. They entice them with money, but that's not a reason for a student to put their hand up as a sophomore and say, I want to do IB diploma because I might get some money from a college. That doesn't make sense. You would do it for different reasons. So I would suggest to you that you go to the Emerald campus open house, that you talk to the IB professionals, folks that manage that program, talk to someone at curriculum night, ask them about those differences. I'm an Olentangy parent who never had IB as an option. My kids got into all the colleges they applied to. So the lack of IB didn't make them, it wasn't a negative. So I think of your opportunity as a very positive thing. You get to weigh and evaluate and decide year to year.
AP and IB are only for electives, or some of the graduation?
AP and IB, good question, are only for electives. Nope, there are core classes, so there are English classes for AP and IB, math classes, and there are also, like a psychology would be, well, that fulfills a social studies or a social science credit as well. So it depends, some are music, some are art. Okay, we good on those two? Wait, I'm gonna blow your mind. Ready to hear about the third one? Hang with me. College Credit Plus. You ready? The wave is coming. Okay, so in the state of Ohio, you have access to a program called College Credit Plus. Your student, it's actually a state program open to students in grades 7 through 12 who qualify to participate. What it is it's your student takes real, live, actual transcripted college classes from a participating institution, from a professor. They have a learning management system at their university. They have college textbooks, right? They are college classes. They are simultaneously going to earn college credit for the completion of the class and earn high school credit in the same subject at the same time. Simultaneous college credit and high school credit. So I'm going to give you a great example. Columbus State English 1100 basic English composition class. So if you're not familiar with the U.S. college system, the 1,000 courses are typically first year college classes. So this is an English 1100 Columbus State, very first level composition class. A student can take that through College Credit Plus, earn a grade and 3 credit hours for the completion of that class, and simultaneously earn, as the law is written, a full year of high school English credit simultaneously. And it has the GPA uptick, and CCP parents would want me to tell you the best part in their mind is that out of your pocket comes no money, no dollars. Your tax dollars pay to educate your child when they choose to have a class in their day that they don't take at the high school, perhaps that they take through a college through CCP, that your tax dollars pay for that. Okay? You with me so far? Okay. You're doing okay. Oh, how do they participate? So how do they qualify? In the old pre-COVID days, they had to take an ACT or SAT and score above the readiness benchmark that aligned with the college where they were going to take the CCP classes. So Columbus State is an open enrollment college, so their bar, their level was the remediation line, which for the ACT is 18 on English, 22 on math, 22 on reading. With COVID, the state had to change things because kids couldn't take the ACT and SAT the same way, so they added in a new way for students to qualify, which was through a cumulative high school GPA of 3.0 or higher. That swings open the door for a student to be able to take College Credit Plus classes. So I mentioned 7th grade. Of course, your student would not go from 6th grade math to organic chemistry in 7th grade. They would traverse through all of the normal paths in their science, in their English. This is why the vast majority of students who participate in College Credit Plus or in AP or in IB are those who have already traversed through those first steps of 9th and 10th grade. Okay, we good? I'm going to tell you something pretty cool about... Go ahead. Does it matter?
It doesn't matter where they did the CCP classes from, the OSU, the community school.
Does it matter? I mean, it's personal choice. Dublin gives you an amazing way to do that inside the high school, which I'm going to show you in just a moment. So, the electives inside and outside of your high school, so let's talk about those really quickly. CCP, there are a set of classes offered at Emerald campus. They so super duper nice. Look at me. Olentangy offers this many CCP classes inside the walls of Olentangy. Do you see how many that is? That is, I'm looking right here. None. All kids have to leave the building to take CCP. So you have some right here at Emerald campus, and they even beautifully put this together into a 2-period early college experience. So just keep this in mind, that this is a lovely way for your students to take a set of college classes, not really leaving campus. They're just coming to Emerald campus to be able to take those classes, travel back to their home high school, and take the remainder of their classes there. Career technical education, I mentioned before, my own youngest one did that digital design program. She earned credentials. She had built-in internships, certifications. It was the key to her college essay was written about a competition she did as part of her Career Tech Lab program in digital design. I cannot speak highly enough about these programs that happen at Toles. Also, I cannot speak highly enough about career academies that happen at Emerald campus. They're just a little bit different. You'll want to take a look at both. This is the list of classes, Career Tech Lab programs available. These are the half-day programs available through Toles. So take a look at those. And again, the reason why I'm showing you this is that these are programs for juniors and seniors. And your student has plenty of time to learn about these and prepare for which ones might be of interest to them. Tolles also does some summer programs, some summer camps, which is a nice way for you to get on campus and take a look. At Emerald Campus, there are similarly a set of career academies that live at Emerald Campus. Same kind of idea though, early career experience and exposure for your high schooler to start to learn about and engage with something they already find interesting. Is this cool? This is so cool. But doesn't it blow your mind? It's like, how do we decide, right? Yes?
So do the academies have like a track of courses that you take?
Do the academies have a track of courses? Yes, for both of them, for Tolles and for these career academies I'm showing you at Emerald Campus, they are under the name of the academy. They are made up of classes that etch onto your transcript. For the career academies inside Emerald Campus, when you look inside your Dublin Course Handbook, you'll see the names of the classes and what credits they'll fulfill. Tolles has the same thing for the Tolles Career Tech Academies, or Career Tech Platforms. Good? We good?
So these show on the GPA as well?
Do these go on a GPA? Yes, they are classes which etch onto your transcript. The other thing that they show, like if I did that pre-nursing program at Tolles, and then I applied to the nursing program at Ohio State, I showed that I spent a good chunk of my day, my junior and senior year, in a pre-nursing program. I probably did an internship. I probably learned phlebotomy. I certainly had the academic coursework on the other side of my day to prepare me for that level of college level coursework, but it indicates to a college how you spent the time that you had to choose. Does that make sense? Okay, so there's choices at the back end of high school that you have so many, and I love that I get to help share these with you. Electives, traditional electives inside high school, look at these. How fun are these? There's so many good ones that your kids can take. I want them to be excited and to understand what's coming. So, watch my time here. I want to make sure I spend a few minutes on ACT, SAT with you. I apologize, I'll run about 5 minutes long. Graduation requirements, in addition to the credits that your student needs to earn, right, those for math, for English, there's also a competency component, and there is a readiness component. So don't worry too much about these. Your school counselors will do a great job making sure that your student is on track for graduation in all 3 of these areas. I did want to put up a sample of one of those 12 seals, of which your student needs to earn 2 by the time they graduate. I will suffice to say, they're generally the way that you earn the seals is kind of built in, baked in to what you're already naturally taking during those high school years. With some of the academic ones, do not worry about it. Don't think, oh my gosh, they have to, is it like some strange senior project to earn the seals? It's not. Don't worry about it. I promise. And we'll send you some information so you've got that as well. If you have a student who might be a student athlete in college, you need to be aware that there's an NCAA set of things, an NAIA as well, that you need to be aware of during those high school years, and you want to alert your high school counselor to make sure that they know that your student is considering being an athlete in college. There are just things you need to do, things you need to be aware of, core classes you need to make sure that you have taken. Okay, so just alerting you to that. So I think I hit all these. How to know when to take an honors class? Is it better to get a B in a harder class or an A in the traditional class? So when someone comes and looks at that transcript, they would like to see that you challenged yourself. They would not like to see all A's in traditional classes. They would like to see that you stretched yourself a little bit here and there appropriately for you, and even at times that you may not have gotten everything exactly right. They'd rather see that because they know that you have worked to prepare yourself for the level of work that they will provide to you at that college. Okay? My child wants to take ceramics. I want them to take public speaking. Please let them take ceramics. It is maybe you negotiate. I don't know. I think we have to figure out sometimes why we want our children to do certain things. But man, if they want to take ceramics and it's going to be the joyful diversion in their day, I say every day of the week they should get to take ceramics. no rubric. There's no magic. You need this many of this and this to get into OSU main campus. There's no such thing that exists. I want your child and your family to make the decisions that are good and right and best for you. PE waiving we talked about, and you, sir, get the, what about that world language requirement thing right there if we didn't get to it? Really quickly, Dublin is doing some great and creative, innovative things regarding career thinking and career readiness. I mean, just the whole advent of Emerald Campus and the career academies, when that came about as a great opportunity that's related to or a sister opportunity to the opportunities already at Tolles. I just am super impressed. Look for some things that come in the career connections world. Look for some new things that are coming related to career support and career thinking for your kiddos. Ooh, one more. I missed it. There's a new co-op course that's going to be available.
Sprinkled that freshman pin sign up for. So I encourage you to go to those. CCP nights are up here. Great informational sessions, even if you're not interested in your child enrolling in CCP, but learning more about our process and deadlines. Those are college deadlines, so there's no flexibility there, so that's really important as well. So please, please attend the curriculum nights. Attend the Emerald Campus just to learn about the offerings and the CCP nights.
Will they have any information online, like for curriculum night? Like if you miss it?
I know, it's a lot. I will ask what all is recorded. I think we do record some of them and post to the website, but I'm honestly not sure what ones all are. Oh yeah, we'll get the PowerPoints because all the principals will have a slide deck. And then I do think one of them is virtual, which, yes. So maybe prioritize, but I would recommend you guys coming to the curriculum nights.
I completely agree, if you can.
Before you walk away.
Yes.
So what if we weren't sitting in this room and our 8th graders, I mean, let's say there's kids out there that don't have somebody to guide them on this and don't go to the curriculum night. Like, are they going to ask them in middle school, like, hi, welcome to school today, sign up for high school?
Yeah, that's my question. Can we get somebody to help us
So-
before February 3rd and sit down and look at our children's already, you've got your kid in high school classes already?
Yes, so you will be receiving communication from your principals and your counselors. So advisement is starting, meaning your teachers, your child's teachers are talking to students already. They are talking about their interests, they're talking about how they're doing in the class, do they enjoy it, is the pace right? Those conversations are happening now. And you'll start to see more information come through from your principals about scheduling timelines and kind of next steps and options. So what I will say, because that timeline is coming up, and that is our deadline, but with that being said, if we need to make changes, we are going to work with students and parents. So February 3rd is our scheduling, that's when numbers will be submitted. That's when we'll start looking at class placements for next year, scheduling teachers, all that stuff starts happening that early. But things change. We're all human, so don't get stressed if you're like, oh, 2 months later, and you're like, I should have signed my child up for that class. So take a deep breath with that one.
And how do you sign up for classes? Do you log on the website?
Yes, 8th graders will sign up for classes through School Links. Raise your hand. I don't know if I want to play this game. School Links?
Yeah.
You guys have hopefully heard of that? Okay.
And then one more.
Jessica, in all the middle schools, will the high school counselors be going in and talking with the 8th graders?
Yes.
Yes, so all the high school counselors travel to all the feeding middle schools and talk to students as well. So they travel to each of the middle schools, they have a presentation, they meet with students. Middle school counselors go in and work with students, and then they work with them on course selection 101.
All right.
So on February 3rd, would they just pick their courses for the freshman year or for the whole 4 years?
Just the freshman year. The School Links platform does allow for students to map out their next 4 years, they're only committing to the upcoming year. Those can be changed at any time. That's not a commitment. That's just to help them think through the next 4 years.
Quick, will they tell us? If our children don't tell us, will they just sign up?
Yeah.
Like, how will we be notified what
You,
they did?
you
Or
now
just-
know, will there be a form that comes home? Will there be anything that comes home?
I don't want to speak for the schools, but I will encourage you all to watch your weekly, do you all receive your weekly newsletters from your buildings? Pay close attention. We all get a lot of emails, I know we get a lot of emails, especially this month. Pay close attention to the details in those emails, okay?
Okay, okay. We good? I want to do ACT, SAT real quick, and then we can, oh, go ahead.
For CCT, what are the grades? Like, do they need to have an ACT score?
So the qualification for CCP is that a student either has that qualifying test score in the ACT or SAT, or they have a 3.0 GPA, cumulative high school GPA or higher, then to take the class that they want to take. So that's just entering the front door of CCP. Then the class that they take also will have prerequisites. So you could take organic chemistry, but you can't take it until you have taken the prerequisites to that specific class. So there's a front door, and then there's class prerequisites. Hang with me. You good? Are we good? Are we good? Okay. Okay. Super quick. This mom over here was with me in the Stone Age. I rolled out of bed, and I grew up in the state of Indiana, and so therefore we took the SAT. Because way back when, states had a preference. So take a lot of that and just like scrape it out of your head because things are different. I'm sharing this though because I swear to you I can be in Kroger and hear someone in the next aisle over say, oh, the SAT and ACT aren't required anymore. And I'm always just like, that's not true. And I have frozen things in my cart. I can't go have a long conversation about that. But I'm here to tell you, I just need you to peek ahead a little bit to the future so that you understand the truth about what's happening with these tests and you have a little bit of a working knowledge and know what to pay attention to. So they still are nationally normed college admissions tests. No college has a preference on the brand anymore. Every single college will accept either the ACT or the SAT. There used to be huge differences between the two tests. At this moment in time, they're actually kind of fairly similar as tests. There's a digital version, so that the SAT is going digital a little over a year from now. And it's not digital like it took the paper version of the test and just put it online. It's actually this adaptive test where you take the first part of it, and then how you answer on the first part shows your child a set of questions in the second part. So it's like, wow, it's going to be really different. So there will be some differences that come as of March of next year when the SAT changes and goes completely digital. I'm emailing you a multi-page testing overview document. It will really give you all the information that you want and more. I just want to highlight a couple things. Your students should think about taking these tests for real. Well, they will take them kind of for real junior year. They can take them anytime prior to that, just for the experience and the practice of having that opportunity. Why? As of right this moment, if you know a senior in high school, this is the reality that they are facing. There are colleges at both ends of the spectrum. So the woman in Kroger who says they're not needed anymore, she's representing the teeny tiniest of fraction of colleges that are test blind. Those are colleges that if you apply and send a score to that college, there's like 45 of them in the US today. They will ignore the test score. So for those few colleges, there's no score that matters to that college. At the other end of the spectrum, there are colleges that still absolutely positively require you to send in a test score. And in fact, Purdue, my alma mater, oh goodness, do I want to ask? You haven't even looked at the score.
have not even checked on the Purdue Ohio State basketball. Good girl. Okay, so other end of the spectrum, including my alma mater, just announced that they're flipping back to requiring the ACT or SAT with every application. Okay? So we are in the Wild West. And in between, there are colleges that say, we are test optional. You can send us a score or not send us a score. But the funny thing is, they won't give you any data or very little data. There's very little data out there about how many students are accepted from each of those pools. So that's exactly what we would like to know as parents. They aren't providing that data. Okay, so given all of that, what do you as 8th grade parents need to know? The bottom line is that we know that when your students possess a strong test score, it benefits them as a college applicant, right? If your student, so I would tell you to test normally from here forward, unless something happens and a wave comes all over the U.S. and everyone goes test blind. I don't think that's going to happen because that would wipe out two incredibly large, I mean, the College Board is a $1 billion nonprofit. Right? It's hard to wipe out a $1 billion nonprofit and a quarter billion dollar ACT. So anyway, long story short, ACT, SAT, test normally. If your student doesn't achieve a score that is kind of matches up with the other components of their application, then they can and should apply test optional. Not submit that test score, submit all the rest of their application components and let them stand on their own as the college considers them for admissions. That's what I would tell you. Test normally, attempt to get a strong score. In the event a student doesn't get a strong score, that's exactly why test optional was built. Does that make sense? Does it? You promise me? Okay. Okay, super quick. Test prep, not needed until you know you actually need it. Won't my colleges see the score if my kid takes the test early? Nope. The scores are in complete control of the student. I heard the kids take it for free. They do. The state of Ohio has every high school student have the opportunity to take the test in the spring of junior year. Districts decide whether it's the ACT or SAT, so you do have one free one that your tax dollars pay for. What if my kid doesn't test well? Can my student access accommodations? So if your student doesn't test well, that's a great opportunity for test optional. Yes, they can access accommodations if they need a quiet space or time and a half, and they get that through their IEP or their 504. They can ask the testing agencies for those same accommodations. Okay, we good? We good? Okay, thinking in the future, at some point, your student ends school and starts work. It is the most exciting time for a parent, sorry, and for the student, let's say. And it will happen at some point. Is college really required or necessary? I would tell you that your students' engagement in college should be tied to a reason why they're going to college. They're going there to learn something specific and to have certain experiences. In order to have a concept of why they're going to college, they should back up into the high school years and explore those career areas, explore those interesting areas. They may hover in or hone in on mechanical engineering because they took some classes and some camps. They may hone in on nursing. They may hone in on, sound engineering. Kids are interested in lots of different things, but the whole point is that you need to use all of the resources that are available to you during these high school years for your student to have a chance to see and learn and understand and try on what they might like. If my oldest would have taken that accounting class and said, I would rather impale myself than, do accounting, I would have been like, awesome, good to, that's great that you know that, because, better to find that out in high school than to think I want to do accounting and get into those classes and then call home and say, but Mom, I want to change my major. So, what comes after high school can be lots of different things, including 4-year, including work, including a 2-year specialized degree program. But your kiddo has to know their why. They should, if they're heading toward college, take rigorous coursework, get involved, try stuff out, be aware that the college process is just a process. This is so major, but I made it so minor on here. Discuss pay. paying for college. That's like a whole can of worms to open up to talk about paying for college and certainly planning for the ACT and SAT. So, thank you again to Jessica and Tyler. I hope, can I ask you a question? Was this helpful? Yes. Okay, good. I can go home and did my Boilermakers win? That is my other question for you. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate your time.